So today we wanted to cover the full process from sales order to or from quote to purchase order, and this is we've kind of designed this workflow particularly with distributors in mind, and basically we're tracking two um, major entities here. We're tracking the blanket order um, from us to our customer, us being the distributor, and the blanket order from us to our vendor who we're purchasing the material from, and tying those together essentially in real time and not having to go back and forth between two different workflows or processes or whatever you want to call them. Basically, we can tie everything together. So let's start off. So in this scenario, we're going to play the distributor. Our company is called Archon Data, and we're going to have a customer place an order for a large amount of pipe that we're not going to essentially ship out to them all at once, right? It's just going to be a blanket order of things they estimate they're going to use and are going to release to us or have us release to them in batches or in pieces. What we're going to do is we're going to place that kind of same blanket order with our vendor and follow that same workflow, not receiving the entirety of the material at the same time, but kind of doing it in pieces, so we don't have any, we're not paying excessive amounts for storage for material that is not actively being used. Then we're going to look at the reports, specifically the stock forecasting report, the inventory forecasting report. What that does is takes our current level of inventory and any purchase orders and sales orders and sees if we're going to be short or over when all of those become due, essentially. So it's going to give us a really good idea of where we're at with all our inventory and orders and things like that. All right, so to start, we're gonna create a quote. We're gonna quote our customer an estimate of what we think it's going to cost them to purchase this material from us. I'm just going to right-click on the sales button and click New Quote. And our customer is going to be Arms Petroleum. So you can see they have a contact information, all that's pre-populated for us. And their shipping information, we're going to ship it to their yard in Houston. It's their Houston yard. Alright, so what they're ordering is, or what they're wanting quoted is some tubing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an item. And I'm going to choose from a master part number. Since we're not necessarily creating inventory here, we're just kind of giving them a rough estimate. So I'm going to choose master part. And I'm going to filter by tubing. And they're going to order some 2 3/8 J55. And they want 10,000 feet, which I think is roughly 312 joints. So we've added that line item to our quote for them. We can see that the unit price is being pulled from the master part. If we open that master part, there's basically two numbers that we want to worry about: the unit cost, which is what we're paying for it, and the unit price, what we're charging for it. So all that's going to be automatically populated on those orders, whether it be sales, purchasing, or quote. So back to the order. We have our line item here for 10,000 feet at $8.80 a foot for an extended cost of $88,000. We see that two important things to note is that this is an outstanding line item, right? We haven't received it. It's still kind of up in the air. So what we can do now is go ahead and print their quote for them. Now, if you click the send email button, it'll send it directly to their contact, but I wanted to print out the quote for you guys so you could see exactly how it would look. And this is what you would send for them to either deny or approve. Hopefully we land the deal and they approve it and want to purchase from us. So I'm going to go ahead and close that quote out. All right. And, oops. Sorry. Okay, so let's say they approve the deal. They want to go ahead and purchase this from us. we're going to go to convert to sale. What this is going to do is it's going to mark this quote that we're looking at right now, this order, as a converted quote. It's going to close it out for us, and it's going to clone it over to an actual sales order. It's going to keep all the information for us so we don't have to go back and redo it. Now this is important because Adam Henry is going to receive kind of credit for this order whenever we click convert to sale. It's going to say he converted it, and we're going to be able to run a report at the end of the month to see how many sales or how many quotes Adam Henry has either lost or converted. So you can kind of keep track of your salespeople that way. So let's go ahead and click that. And here we see we have an actual sales order. The current checkpoint is active, and we see that it cloned the line item and all the information from the previous quote. Now let's go back and take a look at the quote and see what happened there. We refresh. We can see the status of converted quote, and yeah, it's complete. So we're pretty much done with this. You can see right here that it is a completed quote. Now what we need to do now is essentially set a date required for this. We're going to set it out a couple weeks. Well, I'll just use next Friday, for example, just to make it easy. We're going to say the date required for the full order is next Friday. And we're going to save that. Next step is to mark this as an outstanding item. We already have it over here under the status, but we need to check mark this box under the outstanding column to make sure that the total is basically they're not being charged for it, right? They're not paying for this blanket order up front. They're going to pay for it as it actually becomes inventory and comes into their possession. So I'm going to mark this outstanding and save it. And up here in the totals, you'll notice that it's now 0, right? They don't owe it. They haven't incurred the cost just yet. Let's put it that way. All right, and here we can go ahead and notify accounting. We can send the email of this. I can go ahead and print this order, which again gives us our total, but since that line item is outstanding, it's not going to total it for the dollar amount. So now what do we need to do? We've received the blanket order, they've approved it. What we need to do is go ahead and get our hands on that material. So we need to put in a purchase order with our vendor to secure that material so we don't, we have it ready for them. That's when this date required becomes very important. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the home screen and go over to purchasing. Now I'm just going to right click and hit new purchase order. You can go into these buttons and go into the Explorer and hit the button there, but it's just a little quicker to do this. All right, now we got to select who we're going to purchase this item, this order from. In this case, we're going to do Big Bob, Big Pipe. All right, it's requested by, let's say, myself. And we're going to have it shipped to, directly to our customer's location in Houston. Now, we need to go ahead and add that item, right? We need to get that inventory into our system. So first off, I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to add an item. Again, we're going to start with the master part number since this is not yet inventory necessarily. We're going to select tubing, and there's that 2 3/8 J55. And we're going to put in the same information that we did on the sales order. It's 10,000 feet, 312 joints, and select. Ignore, if you have your master part set up correctly, you won't have to enter in a unit price or cost. It'll just take it from the master part. That's why I showed you that earlier. As you can see, the totals are different from our sales order. It's added this line item for the same quantity. However, our unit cost is reduced, right? We're trying to make a profit. So we're purchasing it for $5.60, and we're selling it for $8.80. So here at the top, we'll have my sales order and my purchase order. And I'm going to kind of be switching back and forth. So I'll try to make it very clear which one we're looking at. Okay, so now we have our outstanding line item. We can see the status of this job is on order. Now this is the great thing about it. This does not represent inventory just yet. However, with Oil Country Ice, you can manage it like it were inventory. Double-clicking on this job number will bring it up. And you can see pretty much everything you could on any other job in the system and track it like it was if it was inventory. So that's one of the great advantages of the system. And you'll see that the shipping information is automatically populated from the orders. All right. So now we're to a point where we have both the blanket orders. We have the order that we gave to our customer, and we have the order that we subsequently created with our vendor. What's next? Well, next comes the part where we would receive a release from our customer saying that they need a piece of that blanket order. They said, for example, let's say they order 100 joints and say we need this at our yard. And that's when we're going to go ahead and start receiving this inventory and shipping it out to them piece by piece. And the system is going to keep track of all that on both sides automatically for us. So we're going to go ahead and, let's say I have the paperwork for release, and they ordered 100 joints. What I'm going to do is go to my PO, my purchase order, and I'm going to add another item. Or I could just right-click on my existing outstanding job and click the Receive button. And that's going to track it on both sides of this. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's right-click on that item and click Receive. Now, like I said, we're going to transfer by bulk because we're only receiving part of this blanket order. And now I'm just going to do it by joints. Normally I think you would do it by joints and footage or by footage, but for simplicity's sake. I'm going to click Finish. And it's going to open up a truck for me. And this dialog, what it's asking me here is if I want to reduce from the outstanding balance. And you want to click Yes on this one. It's going to basically take that blanket order and reduce it, right? So we know exactly how much we've received, how much we've shipped, and how much we're still kind of owing to the customer. So we're going to click Yes. And we see it created a new job for us and placed it on an inbound truck. Now we see it's coming from Big Bob's location and going directly to our Houston pipe yard. Now here we can actually, with this truck open, we can go up to the print button, to the little arrow by it, and print our bill of lading, and ship that out to our, send that over to our vendor. As you can see, you have several things that you can print over here. In any case, let's go ahead and take a look at what the information is presented here. We'll see that our purchase order number, purchase order 100-153, is automatically populated in our internal order. Now what we need to do is assign it to that sales order, right? Because we want to track it both at the same time. So this is where the PO is coming from, the purchase order we created. Now we need to assign it to an SO. It's going to be order 200 and 387. So 200, 387. You can assign it here, or you can double click on the job. And where's my sales order? We'll just do it on the truck itself. All right, so 200, 387, same order that I have created. You can click Open Order and it'll bring us back to that, so you can double check there. We can save. and we can complete the truck. Right? So this is the purchase order, this is the sales order. So let's take a look at what that did. We're just going to refresh these orders that we have open. So here's the purchase order. We see that it created that new line item with a status of received, and it reduced the quantity on the on order job, that first one, that outstanding job. It reduced it by the amount. So anyone can come in here and look to see that, okay, we've already taken care of 3,200 feet, and we still have 6,700 feet to take care of. Now you can see up here, the totals are reflecting the cost of this line item in particular, that one job that we have now received at the customer's location, right? You can make that taxable. And if we want, we can print. But let's take a look at our sales order. So this is our internal tracking. If we go over to our sales order, we'll see that that line item was added as well. So now you're tracking it on both ends. Now, oftentimes, customers will want to see, will want to basically pay for it as they're incurring the cost. So if you need to bill them for these individual line items, you need to come to the sales order, right-click on a line item, and send it to a suborder. Now we have all the same information as before, but they're only seeing the unit price and cost for that one line item. We can checkpoint this suborder to invoice. No, I can read, I promise. Here we go, invoice. Save that. We're going to tax them for this. We can go ahead and print this out.
And that tax comes from the location.
And bill them. Oh, I didn't enter in a tax rate. I'm sorry, that's why we're not seeing it there. So let's go ahead and put in a tax rate there. And there we go. Now we have a full invoice for them just for that one shipment of 100 joints. So, any questions so far? That's the one you're talking about, right, Jonathan, right here?
Is it blank master part in sales or
Yeah. Oh, you mean like it did in the purchase order? Yeah, okay, okay.
Keep track, and if you go to tracking, it's going
It doesn't right now, simply because we want to keep track of the original amount that was done. This is more for, because this is more of a customer side thing. So with this,
go to all the suborders.
right, and you can go to the suborders and kind of check it out there. You can send these to suborder line items, but as of right now, the quantity is going to stay the same, just so they know exactly what they were originally quoted and what the different line items total to. So, because we could change the price on some of this, so there can be some variations. So, yeah, the original line item, the blanket order on the sales order, is going to stay there. The purchase order reduces because it's kind of a way for us to, it's a placeholder for us to kind of, yeah, kind of keep track of that. So. And you can come in here and see your suborders on the suborder tab. Okay. All right, so let's go through that one more time. Let's go ahead and get another line item, get another shipment out to them. So we receive another release for another 100 joints. Again, we're going to add a line item to our purchase order. We're going to choose from master part. All right, let's just receive it from here. And transfer by bulk. And do some more joints, and we'll go ahead and close the order out. We're going to do the rest of the 212 joints. Yes, we're going to reduce the outstanding balance on our purchase order. And we're going to enter in the order number that is attached to. We'll save. Again, we can print the truck here. Right? And print the bill of lading, send that over to our, or the loading slip, or whatever you need to send over to the vendor. And we can complete the truck. We can refresh this, and we see that we have now a zero quantity job on order, meaning we've essentially fulfilled our order with our customer here on the PO. Now, let's go back to that order. And here we have the two jobs that we've shipped, that we received over there, right? And we're going to make these two taxable. And save that. Now, like we did with the previous job, we're going to send this line item to a suborder so we can bill for it individually. And we're going to checkpoint this guy to invoiced, or invoice. And printing this, we'll see our invoice for this one particular item. And if you look here, the master order, you can keep track of which order this is a suborder of, with this master number right here. We can go back to that one and take a look at our suborders. Refresh that. Yep. There we go. So here we have our both of our invoices. Now, say for example we receive payment for this line item. We can go ahead and complete this. It's going to ask us to complete the job on there. What it does, it takes it out of our possession essentially, since they've already paid for it. So we're going to say yes, and we're going to close this order. Back on our sales order, and see that this line item is now complete. This is in the suborder. And if we refresh that, let's go ahead and do the same for the item right here. We're going to go ahead and complete that order. I'm going to go to the invoiced order and complete it. I'm going to say yes. And as soon as you complete the item here, it's going to put that locked thing. It just lets you know that this is done, not messing with it anymore. Okay. There we have all of our suborders are complete. Refresh that. And we can mark these as done. Now, you can just complete it from here, since you've already invoiced those individual line items, or you can print out an invoice, checkpoint this to invoice, and print out a kind of a grand total for them. And here we have the grand total for those two line items and an invoice for them. So you have the option, you can bill individually or on one invoice. So we fulfilled both those blanket orders. We're going to head and complete our purchase order since we have no more inventory outstanding with our vendor. We've paid, all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and complete. Alright. And over here, same thing with our order. We're done. They've received all their material, and we've received payment. We're going to go ahead and complete it. And we're going to hit yes, because it's going to complete the jobs on here for us. I think we had a couple questions. What about reworks or rejects? Okay, so this is so if we have any like damaged stuff that comes back or things that were kind of extra they didn't use, that's a great advantage of the system, right? We can track the inventory with it. So let's take a look at our purchase order. We bought it from Big Bob Pipe, and it is complete. There it is. So now you can handle this at any point during the process. If it's already open, then it's not a problem. But since we've already closed this out, we're going to go ahead and reopen it. And what we need to do is basically get it back from the location or adjust the amounts that were essentially shipped. And we can do that through the reconcile. Right, so we see we have 100 joints. Let's say we receive back 2. We can just change this to 98 and the appropriate footage. And finish the reconcile. And there. We have 98 and we have 2 joints outstanding. Now the reason it didn't put the quantity is because I didn't know the exact footage for 2 joints. But if I'd put in a differing value there for what those 2 joints measured out, then it would put it back on the outstanding. Over here you'll see that we still have 2 joints outstanding. And then it's just a matter of closing it out again, right? Any other questions before we take a look at the report? Or reports, I should say. Okay, shoot. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and take a look at those reports. Two in particular I want to look at are in sales and finance. First one we're going to look at is quote conversion by part. And we're going to build a filter and look at the part number of, I believe it was 2 3/8 J55. And we're going to run that report. Now we see all the sales orders or all the quotes in the system that were for that part number and who sold them essentially. So right here on the 29th, we see that Adam Henry converted a quote right here for 10,000 joints, totaling $88,000. And you can run this report with any number of filters for dates or companies, what have you. But it lets you know kind of who's lost more quotes than maybe other salespeople, or who maybe needs some more training or what have you. Pretty simple report, but it's very useful for your salespeople. Now we're going to look at the stock forecasting report, or the inventory forecasting. Basically what this does is it takes our current balance for any given material, in this case we're going to do 2 3/8 tubing, and it's going to add the purchase orders that we have to that and subtract the sales orders that we have to that. And what that's going to give us is an idea of whether we're going to be over or under for what we've essentially promised our customers. So if we're overselling or underselling. And we're going to again do it for the 2 3/8 J55. Oh goodness. Let's clear our filter and run that. So here we have all the inventory that we actually have a current balance on, and we see here that you'll have the order number that was placed on, and the footage that was promised, and then the ending balance after that is subtracted out of it. Now, if we had oversold this total balance would appear in red. So you can kind of get a good idea of where your inventory levels are going to be, for example, at the end of the month. We're going to go back to sales for 1 second, and we're going to take a look at our completed sales report and run that. Now here are all the sales that we have successfully completed and are no longer on our plate. These top 3, as you can see, are our sub-orders and our main order. And again, you can run this by any different criteria or AFE or what have you. You can filter it however you'd like. But it just gives you a quick rundown of essentially the values of all your sales orders, how much you sold the material for. And the same kind of reports are available for both purchase and sales orders. And that's about it. That's tracking the sales order, the quote to purchase order to reporting at the end of the month, all in one workflow essentially. And again, this is particularly designed for, specifically designed for distributors, and we'd love to hear any feedback on it, so we can kind of, so we can hone it in and narrow it down on and make it applicable to more people, since it's such a powerful tool to integrate sales and purchasing with active inventory and shipping and receiving. So That's it for today's webinar. Again, this is going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/oilcountryos. If you have any feedback or questions on the system or ways to improve it, we'd love to hear that. You can email us at support@archondata.com or head over to our support site at support.archondata.com and either spark up a live chat with us or submit a ticket. And there's documentation on pretty much any part of the application there. So thank you so much for attending, and